Picture this, you're floating in the endless expanse of space. Your oxygen running out with just 10 minutes left on the clock and not a rescue ship in sight. This gripping premise is at the heart of the show Final Space, where you'll encounter mind-boggling time travel and all sorts of cosmic oddities. In the world of Final Space, the Arachnitects, created by beings of light, were tasked with crafting powerful titans to assist in dimension layering. All was well until they reached the universe's end and faced the malevolent force known as Invictus. This sinister entity poisoned all the titans except Balo, the lone survivor. Teaming up, the Arachnitects and Balo imprisoned Invictus in the confines of Final Space, where they remained trapped for countless eons. Eventually, they broke free, threatening to unleash chaos upon the universe. However, a noble individual named John Goodspeed made the ultimate sacrifice to seal them once more, inadvertently giving rise to Mooncake, a unique being born from Final Space itself. Mooncake's departure from Final Space triggered an imbalance, weakening its protective barriers. To save the universe from impending doom, Mooncake must return to its origin, or all will be lost. The show kicks off with Gary Goodspeed, the son of John Goodspeed, floating in space. His only companion is Hugh, the AI in a spacesuit, who reminds him that he only has 10 minutes of oxygen left. Yet Gary's fate turns unexpectedly when he encounters a small green alien creature named Mooncake. But how did he end up here? Well, everything that we see from here on is a flashback that will lead us to this moment. So be patient because it's one hell of a story. Gary's journey began 5 years earlier when he crossed paths with Quinn, an Infinity Guard captain, and instantly fell for her. His ill-fated attempt to impress her led to an explosion, resulting in his 5-year prison sentence aboard the Galaxy 1, a satellite repair prison ship. During his sentence, Gary stumbles upon Mooncake and brings it aboard the ship, hiding him from the ship's AI and robots. Meanwhile, a sinister figure known as the Lord Commander seeks to capture specimen E-351, which is the same alien Gary found, claiming it possesses incredible power. Ventrexian bounty hunters track Mooncake to the Galaxy 1, and Gary activates the ship's Lightfold engines, propelling them near an asteroid field just so he could save his little friend from being captured. In the dire situation, Mooncake reveals his unique energy blasting ability, saving Gary and preventing a disastrous asteroid collision. Back on Galaxy 1, Gary, Mooncake, and Hugh find a surviving bounty hunter named Avocado, who warns Gary about Mooncake's planet-killing nature and the relentless pursuit of the Lord Commander. Gary is determined to protect Mooncake despite the danger, while Lord Commander continues plotting his sinister schemes. So after the attack, the ship is in repairs while Gary records a video for Quinn to introduce his new friends, Avocado and Mooncake. He does this every day, so I'm just gonna say it beforehand. On Earth, Quinn learns of an Infinity Guard ship crash and heads to help. Mooncake encounters a probing device that scans him, alerting a bounty hunter named Turk, who races to inform the Lord Commander on Terracon Prime. Gary and Avocado arrive on the planet to stop Turk and meet a shady guy named Clarence, who gives him the skin of a dead bride named Melanie as a disguise. Meanwhile, Quinn investigates the crash site with her fellow Tribor, discovering a potentially universe-threatening disturbance in the gravitational constant. Also, an intruder arrives on Galaxy 1 and disables all systems including Hugh, while Avocado learns that his son, Little Cato, is on Terracon Prime as well. Avocado's attempt to rescue his son turns into a trap as he and Gary are both captured. In an attempt to escape, Gary gets severely injured and loses an arm. Meanwhile, the intruder implants a chip in Gary's companion KVN, revealing herself as Nightfall, an alternative version of Quinn, and claiming that KVN will save them all one day. She then activates Hugh, which hears Gary's calls for help and rescues them both. After some medical treatment, Gary promises to go back for Little Cato, who is now transported to a new prison, to stop the group from rescuing him. In his prison cell, Little Cato receives a handheld computer sent by an unknown source, while the ruthless Viro pays him a visit. Meanwhile, on Galaxy 1, the ship faces an attack from 3 heavy incinerator vessels, prompting Gary to make a daring decision to enter a temporal worm to escape, successfully propelling them 4 days into the future. With the constant threat from the Lord Commander, Avocado convinces Gary to take Mooncake to planet Yarno for safety. Meanwhile, on Terracon Prime, the Lord Commander visits the Order of the 12 to seek help from a member named Hula. She notices that he is dying due to his powers, but he destroys her eyes and demands Mooncake's immediate capture. Upon reaching Yarno, the gang encounters Order of 12, where Mooncake is imprisoned and forced into gladiatorial combat. Avocado and Gary must navigate the surreal Lazarus Trap, while Mooncake engages the Lord Commander in a fierce battle, its potential to unlock final space. That's the name of the show, so it must be something important. The Galaxy 1 arrives for a rescue, but a soldier tries to shoot it down only to be killed by nightfall. Meanwhile, Quinn continues her investigation of the quantum gravitational disturbance, but Superior Stone sends an Imperium cruiser to intercept her. However, the cruiser gets too close to it, causing the intense gravity to pull the entire cruiser into the disturbance and disintegrate, leaving only Quinn as the sole survivor who escapes in an escape pod. Quinn sends out a distress signal which Galaxy 1 picks up and rescues her, only for Gary to learn that she doesn't remember him nor receive his messages. However, the Infinity Guard takes control of the Galaxy 1 remotely, making the Sames, a group of defense robots, hostile and draining the power reactor, leaving the ship vulnerable near a dying star. Gary, eager to impress Quinn, ventures outside to harness the dying star's energy. Meanwhile, Little Cato in his prison cell discovers a hidden chip under his food tray. After the group locates a functioning computer, a hologram of Nightfall appears, warning Mooncake of the doom he carries. Also, while closer to the star, Gary goes through a flashback of his father John Goodspeed's fatal mission, learning that he was studying the same anomaly as Quinn. KVN manages to regain control of Hugh using a chip provided by Nightfall, just as the Imperium cruiser arrives to capture Quinn. As Gary's suit begins to burn from the star's heat, Quinn contemplates sacrificing him for her mission's success. However, thanks to Mooncake's intervention, Gary is rescued just as the star goes supernova, and the Galaxy 1 narrowly escapes, with the Imperium cruiser being obliterated. In the end, everyone is safe, and Little Cato sends an SOS to Galaxy 1 using the chip he found. Now they address the problem at hand, which is the quantum gravitational disturbance. Quinn hacks into the Infinity Guard network to uncover information about a growing anomaly with black hole properties endangering Earth. KVN accidentally reveals that the beach is created by plasmic energy from a nearby planet, which is also an Infinity Guard outpost, 0439. Meanwhile, Little Cato in his prison cell receives a message from a mysterious woman who helps him escape. On the planet, Gary's attempts to impress Quinn backfire, causing a swarm of hostile butterfly-like creatures to chase them. They escape by luring the swarm into a spider's web and discover a hidden Infinity Guard base, firing plasmic energy into the breach. Little Cato makes his way to a transmitter on Zetacron Alpha, avoiding the guards. In the laser control room, Quinn's attempt to reason with the soldiers fail, leading to a fight. They also encounter Superior Stone, who is killed by Gary. Eventually, they redirect the laser to the moon and escape the collapsing base. And lastly, the woman who helped Little Cato escape is actually the Lord Commander, whose entire plan was to lure Avocado and Mooncake to Zetacron Alpha. Little Cato sends a distress call to Galaxy 1, but Quinn and Avocado clash over whether to save Little Cato or close the breach. Quinn is tied to a chair to prevent her from interfering, and the crew heads to Sector 11, knowing well it might be a trap. Quinn tricks KVN into freeing her and attempts to steal a ship to reach the breach. Hugh intervenes, opting to restore her trust in Gary by revealing all his unsent messages over the past 5 years. Meanwhile, Gary and Avocado find the prison empty, confirming their suspicions of a trap. While Gary steps away briefly, Avocado encounters his possessed son, revealing his dark past as the Lord Commander's second-in-command and the atrocity he refused to commit, resulting in Little Cato being taken hostage. The Lord Commander orders Little Cato to kill his father and extracts information from Gary's mind about Mooncake's location. As the Galaxy 1 arrives at the prison, a bomb attached to Little Cato's back by Lord Commander activates. Avocado sacrifices himself to shield the others from the explosion, plummeting to his death on Zetacron Alpha. In the aftermath, Gary reflects on their time together and tries to find a way to help the grieving Little Cato, who is isolating himself in the Galaxy 1's vents. As Gary's sentence on Galaxy 1 officially ends, Gary agrees to join Little Cato in seeking vengeance against Quinn's advice. However, their mission fails miserably until they are saved by a mysterious teleporting ship piloted by Nightfall, the Quinn from a different timeline who is in love with Gary. However, she reveals her intent to kill Mooncake to prevent a bleak future where Gary dies at the hands of the Lord Commander. She reveals that in such a future, Mooncake inadvertently releases monstrous titans from final space. Little Cato overhears their conversation and decides to use Nightfall's ship, a time machine, to save his father. Quinn and Gary don spacesuits and follow Nightfall into space after she chases Mooncake into an asteroid field. In the meantime, Little Cato and KVN investigate Nightfall's ship, inadvertently activating its self-destruct sequence. Hugh alerts the crew, and they manage to rescue Little Cato and KVN before the ship's destruction. Gary and his crew embark on a mission to save Earth from impending doom caused by a breach in space. With the help of Nightfall, a future version of Quinn, they attempt a risky plan involving traveling through a sun's aperture to reach Balo, a powerful entity with potential solutions. Inside Balo's mind, Gary experiences an interactive memory of his father, John Goodspeed's final moments. Time is frozen, and Gary and John share a heartfelt conversation discussing the breach and John's ultimate sacrifice to close it. John imparts crucial information about closing the breach with an antimatter bomb manually. Back in the present, Mooncake learns from Balo that he is composed of final space. Gary witnesses John's selfless act in the past, reinforcing the importance of their mission. In the present, the crew witnesses the events in John's memory and bonds over their grief for their lost fathers. The crew is motivated by their newfound determination to save Earth as they set course for their next mission. Arriving on Earth, they notice that the breach is causing havoc and their ship is sucked underwater. The crew arrives in New York, which lies in ruins, and they have 6 hours to find the antimatter bomb and close the breach. Upon disembarking, the crew encounters Infinity Guard soldiers and robots, leading to a fierce battle. KVN surprises everyone by revealing his KVN mech suit and joining the fight, enlisting the help of 3 other robots that are revealed to be disguised KVN units. As they reach the chamber where the bomb is supposed to be, they discover it's missing, and Hugh can't trick it because all files have been deleted. More Infinity Guard soldiers arrive, capturing the team squad and sentencing Quinn and Gary to execution. In a tense moment, they decide to share a drink before their supposed demise. But Tribor suddenly appears and eliminates the soldiers. Tribor reveals that he has formed a resistance against the Lord Commander and the corrupt Infinity Guard and helps them locate the bomb. In the end, they safely leave the planet with the bomb and set course for the breach while Lord Commander deploys his armada of heavy incinerators, setting the stage for the final showdown. In their final battle against the Lord Commander, the team squad with Gary, Quinn, and Little Cato and others uses the Galaxy One's core as a weapon to decimate the enemy armada, but the Lord Commander's ship survives. Facing overwhelming odds, they strive to reach the breach to save Earth, with Mooncake and KVN valiantly holding off enemy forces. After a daring fight, including sacrifices of Tribor, KVN, Little Cato, and the entire ship of Galaxy One, the team squad's efforts ultimately result in Quinn sacrificing herself to close the breach, saving Earth from getting destroyed. Gary, left floating in space, encounters his father, John Goodspeed, and faces a choice between returning to his friends or joining his father in an unknown realm. And so, this is how Gary was left stranded in space, and throughout the course of the season, his oxygen supply has shrunken to 1 minute before he dies. However, due to some unseen events, Gary and KVN are salvaged by a Galactica trash spaceship, but deemed trash and left on a junk planet where they encounter Clarence, who legally owns Gary. As they try to escape, they are joined by Little Cato and later enslaved by Clarence's magnetic leg cuffs. Meanwhile, the Lord Commander is nearing death, and Nightfall arrives to kill him, vowing to go after someone named Invictus next. Back on the junk planet, Clarence offers them a deal. If they help him steal the Nemerian cube during a dangerous race called the Toro Regatta, he will set them free. Gary reluctantly agrees, and they are provided with a new ship, the Crimson Light, for the race. Along the way, KVN unexpectedly reappears after rebuilding himself with junkyard materials. After a series of intense moments, the Crimson Light wins the race, and Gary reunites with Mooncake. Nightfall reveals that nobody ever returns from final space, dashing Gary's hopes of finding Quinn there. Balo, trapped within the Nemerian cube, informs Gary that a war is imminent, and to free him, they must find 5 keys. Along with Nightfall, Clarence, and his so-called children Ash and Fox, the group embarks on a quest to locate the dimensional keys and prepare for the impending war. The team squad strategizes to take back control of their ship from Clarence, but a mysterious ship approaches them, capturing the Crimson Light before they can escape. However, the ship's inhabitants turn out to be cute aliens called the Fluffles, led by Hush Fluffles, who welcome them to the happy place, a supposed paradise. Clarence seizes the opportunity to pretend the ship is his and plans to sell it to an unsuspecting customer. Meanwhile, Hush Fluffles offers the crew a chance to experience their deepest desires in a dream world. Gary is selected first and finds himself in a dream as an action hero specializing in dance battles. As the dream unfolds, the rest of the team squad discovers the dark truth about the happy place. It's a power plant that harvests energy from people while they are in their happy dreams. They also encounter a near-dead man who explains this horrifying reality. While in his dream, Gary slowly loses his life force through a cable, and Hush Fluffles reveals his true identity as Todd Watson, a human who blames Gary for the loss of his family on Earth. A battle ensues as the team fights to rescue Gary and escape the happy place, ultimately succeeding but leaving Todd vowing revenge. As they continue their journey during the game, Ash reveals a tattoo on her arm, recognized by Hugh as a symbol of one of the dimensional keys. Gary realizes that one of the keys is on Serpentis, a planet that worships a fire serpent named Worthrint. However, Ash strongly opposes going to Serpentis due to a traumatic event from her past where she witnessed her sister's sacrifice to Worthrint and accidentally killed her parents with her newfound powers. Ash eventually decides to face her fears and leads the team to Serpentis. The group finally reaches the temple where Worthrint appears and consumes them. Inside Worthrint's body, they find the dimensional key and defeat its guardian, Septim. Little Kato retrieves the key, causing Worthrint's demise and creating a portal. Ash finds her sister Harp but is unable to save her. Little Kato and Ash escape, but Clarence accidentally swallows the key during a fight. Back on the Crimson Light, Ash and Little Kato share a heart-to-heart moment, and Nightfall suggests that Ash's power may have a greater purpose in the future. Meanwhile, the groom they help accidentally falls to his death during his wedding, leaving an emotional impact on Fox. The episode ends with the team moving forward, still on their quest for the dimensional keys. In the next episode, the team squad celebrates finding the second dimensional key with a dance party. Their celebration is cut short when the Crimson Light encounters a space-time anomaly filled with time shards that could disrupt the ship. Little Kato takes control to avoid the shards, but one hits the ship, cutting it in half. Gary is knocked unconscious and sucked into the shard, while the rest experience 60 years inside the shard. During this time, the crew undergoes drastic changes, with Little Kato growing up and the ship deteriorating. They believe Gary is dead and he becomes a memory shrine. Little Kato secretly builds a distress beacon, which he activates, shattering a time shard and attracting a colossal titan. On the other side, Gary, Ash, and Fox try to break through, eventually connecting with Little Kato's group as the titan attacks. With Nightfall's guidance, they defeat the titan, but Little Kato is injured. A rescue signal is sent, synchronizing time on both sides, restoring the ship and turning Little Kato back into a child. Despite his ordeal, Little Kato keeps his emotions to himself. Gary, Tribor, and Little Kato encounter David Deventer and his sons, who seek revenge on Gary for what happened to Melanie. David threatens to harm Gary's mother, even though Gary doesn't know her whereabouts. Back on the Crimson Light, Gary discovers that his infamous mother, Cheryl, is about to be executed for her crimes on Sorbo. Gary harbors resentment toward his absent mother, but still decides to help her. The team heads to Sorbo and infiltrates the Supermax prison, where they find Cheryl. After a violent escape, Cheryl charms the crew with her stories and plans a heist to steal a valuable heirloom. After a successful heist and escape, Cheryl reveals a hidden dimensional key within the loot. Suspicion grows as Cheryl's true intentions become apparent. The group returns to Crimson Light, but Cheryl secretly leaves with the dimensional key. Gary confronts her, but she claims that she was so heartbroken after John's death that she couldn't love anyone else. Gary was left to fend for himself until he burned the treehouse he used to live in and decided to move on. Gary remembers his own abandonment and vows to find Cheryl and hold her accountable for her actions, setting the stage for future events. Tribor departs from the Crimson Light to form a new resistance due to perceived growing threats. Meanwhile, Mooncake undergoes mysterious physical changes, and the Red Light abducts him into space, leaving the crew baffled. Desperate to retrieve Mooncake, the crew embarks on a perilous journey, including light folding and drop folding, to rescue him. They encounter Ballo, who reveals that the Arachnitects have taken Mooncake and the only way to save him is by opening a dimensional key. Claren leads them to potential key unlockers, ultimately leading to a locksmith named Dartriccio. Despite Dartriccio's efforts, they must find a person named Sal to unlock the key. Their quest takes them to Arachnitect's realm, where they learn about the universe's history. In a heroic act, Gary and Mooncake seal Final Space, preventing Invictus from escaping. Since the seal is repaired, Mooncake is allowed to stay with the crew with the promise of never opening Final Space again. Meanwhile, Tribor forms the Resistance, and Gary vows to protect Mooncake from looming threats, including Invictus. Sometime later, a mischievous button labeled "Press Here" is pushed, resulting in the creation of an additional KVN. Meanwhile, Nightfall and Gary have an eventful time on the ship's bridge, inadvertently causing a power outage that leaves the crew members isolated in various rooms. Also, Little Kato and Fox argue about boundaries in their shared quarters, leading to a heated disagreement. As the evil KVNs threaten Clarence, Ash, and the others, they must find a way to deal with these homicidal duplicates. Meanwhile, Nightfall uses a Virtualasium to recreate memories and experiences with her Gary, causing tension when her fabricated Gary becomes uncomfortably intimate with her. The crew eventually overcomes their challenges, restores power, and eliminates the evil KVNs, but Nightfall is left grappling with the realization that her desire for a happy ending with Gary may be unattainable due to his attachment to his own Quinn. The episode ends with the evil KVNs plotting revenge, setting the stage for future conflicts. Sometime later, the Crimson Light becomes trapped in a temporal worm, sending the three of them years back in time to an era when the Lord Commander still ruled Terracon Prime. Gary seizes the opportunity to steal the Lord Commander's dimensional key as a potential advantage against his mother. Despite warnings from the time swap Sammy, a guardian of the timeline, Gary and Little Cato remain resolute in altering the past. Meanwhile, Little Cato, Ash, and Fox seek Avocado's help as he is still allied with the Lord Commander in his timeline. Avocado aids them in finding the key, but when an alarm is triggered, he sacrifices himself to buy them time to escape. The team reaches a time worm to return to the present, and a decision is made to save Avocado by leaving Gary behind in the past. Months pass and the team retrieves Gary, but upon their reunion, they discover that while Avocado has been saved, his memory is completely wiped, creating a bittersweet outcome. Team Squad is determined to help Avocado regain his lost memories. Ash suggests a painful method from her home planet involving whipping, which begins to trigger some of Avocado's memories. During the process, they receive a corrupted message from Quinn, picked up by Tribor, which Gary believes could be their chance to find her in Final Space. Avocado recalls an important detail about the Lord Commander's past, how he learned to access Final Space through something called clear water. The team sets course for Canopus Prime, where clear water can be found, but their exploration leads to a waterfall-like spatial anomaly. Gary, Avocado, and Little Cato are sucked into it, and Gary encounters a strange world where he must follow a mysterious map. Meanwhile, on the Crimson Light, they face an approaching fleet, and Shannon, leader of the uprising, boards to ask for Tribor's help. On Canopus Prime, Gary drinks the clear water, which leads him to a terrifying encounter with Invictus and the reunion with Quinn. However, the Invictus possesses Gary, who is forced to fight his friends Avocado and Little Cato. When Avocado almost defeats Gary, Invictus possesses his body instead and disappears, leaving the ground in shock. After Gary recovers from his injuries, Mooncake and Nightfall inform him that Little Cato has left the ship, feeling ashamed for having shot his own possessed father. Gary is determined to find and reunite with Little Cato, prompting Nightfall to trace a message from him to a planet called Galang 22. There, Little Cato has joined the Burner Tribe, a group of bounty hunters, while Gary is led to the whereabouts of Little Cato through a series of bizarre stabbing demands by a bar patron. The team confronts the Burner Tribe, leading to an emotional reunion between Gary and Little Cato. Meanwhile, in the Happy Place, Todd captures Cheryl in hopes of finding information about her son Gary's whereabouts. Cheryl reveals her complex past as a spy who fell in love with John Goodspeed, Gary's father, and the two form an unexpected alliance as they share a common goal, finding dimensional keys. By the next episode, Cheryl successfully steals a dimensional key from the ruins of the Lord Commander's castle, bringing her total to 2 keys, just like the Team Squad. Meanwhile, Clarence secretly conspires with Cheryl to steal the dimensional keys and manipulates the crew into pursuing a fake lead on a dimensional key. The team eventually discovers Clarence's betrayal, and Ash and KVN rush to the ship to rescue Fox, who has been injured during a confrontation with Clarence. Simultaneously, Nightfall, Gary, and Little Cato chase Clarence, who undergoes multiple transformations, ultimately getting away and giving the keys to Cheryl. Back on the Crimson Light, Gary faces the devastating loss of the dimensional keys and reflects on his perceived failure to help Quinn. Ash and Nightfall offer him support and assure him they will recover the keys. Meanwhile, Cheryl and Todd make their way to Rugaro, where Cheryl contacts another Titan using the Nymerian Cube to negotiate the return of her husband, John Goodspeed, in exchange for the dimensional keys. Cheryl sets out to find the 5th key, while the Crimson Light crew seeks assistance from Tribor and his Resistance fleet to confront both Todd and Cheryl. Rugaro is being consumed by the Dark Zone, a black hole meaning time is running out for both of them. There, they encounter the Beforians, the planet's native inhabitants, who are planning to send the key into the cosmos before their planet's destruction. However, Cheryl arrives and inadvertently causes the extinction of the Beforians. Gary confronts his mother, leading to a fierce battle in which Cheryl injures Nightfall. Meanwhile, KVN locates and retrieves the other 4 keys, and Tribor's resistance successfully takes over the Happy Place. On Rugaro, Gary confronts her about her past behavior as a mother. Touched by Gary's words, Cheryl sheds tears, and Gary decides to take her back to the Crimson Light. They manage to retrieve the last key just in time before Rugaro is consumed by the Dark Zone. The Happy Place is destroyed as the Team Squad escapes with the 4 keys. With all the keys now in their possession, the Team Squad is ready to free Ballo. The squad is now faced with a dilemma about whether to free Ballo, as Gary is unsure of the consequences. Despite the peril, Gary proceeds with the lightfold into the aperture leading to inner space. However, they are attacked by another ship. Little Kato engages in a dogfight with the attacker, only to discover that the pilot is Avocado, still possessed by Invictus. As they approach inner space, Gary chooses to trust Ballo, but they need Mooncake and a sixth key as a sacrifice to free him. When Avocado attacks again, Nightfall urges Mooncake to use her as a sacrifice, to which he reluctantly agrees. Ballo is freed, inner space begins to collapse, and Avocado regains his senses when Ash unleashes her powers on him in a fit of rage. Cheryl, who is now committed to helping Gary, takes over the controls and pilots the Crimson Light as inner space collapses around them. Ballo helps them reach the exit by throwing the ship, and they re-emerge from the sun. Ballo calls upon the Arachnitects to transport them to final space, a one-way trip with the entrance sealed behind them. The episode concludes with Gary reuniting with Quinn, but their reunion is spoiled by the appearance of Invictus, marking the beginning of an epic saga. Now honestly, words cannot describe how beautiful this scene is. You should really check it out. In final space, Gary and Quinn fall into Invictus's trap, surrounded by two colossal titans. Ballo's heroic intervention saves them, but the Crimson Light is severely damaged in the process, forcing them to abandon the ship and crash land on an unfamiliar planet. Stranded and facing an uncertain future, the team squad's primary focus becomes survival. 1 month later, they are ambushed by a horde of dead Gary clones, prompting them to destroy their base and flee. A Titan attacks, and Ballo's actions inadvertently send them tumbling into a massive underground crater, separating the group. Underground, they encounter a mysterious dying giant robot who reveals that those who remain in final space are slowly poisoned, potentially explaining Quinn's deteriorating condition that she has hidden from the group. Ash ends the robot's suffering, and Tribor pops an egg that hatches into a Quatronostro, a Spanish-speaking ally who helps them fend off pursuing Gary's clones. Meanwhile, on the surface, Ballo and Mooncake engage in a fierce battle with a Titan. Ballo is hurled into the planet's depths, while Gary and Quinn, seemingly launched into space, unexpectedly find themselves near the planet Earth, within the enigmatic realm of final space, opening new possibilities and questions about their fate. With their group mysteriously disappearing from the stranded planet chunk, KVN escorts Quinn, Gary, and Hugh into an abandoned Earth. Gary is soon abducted and dropped into an underground facility filled with hundreds of KVNs, including his superfan Biscuit. This facility belongs to Kevin Van Newton, KVN's creator, who surprisingly recognizes Quinn even though they've never met before. As Gary and Quinn bond, Kevin informs them about a ship they can use to rescue their friends. Upon reaching the ship, Hugh takes control, revealing that it was Nightfall who had asked Kevin to build it 6 years ago. It's important to remember that the final space is filled with dead Garys, but since Nightfall sacrificed herself to save him, she might create a world where Quinn and Gary can coexist. Anyway, Kevin departs in search of a bridge to help them escape final space. Meanwhile, the rest of the group encounters Arachnitects, the last of their kind in final space. However, their encounter takes a deadly turn when the resurrected Lord Commander shows up, demanding Mooncake's location. Mooncake and Ballo, on the other hand, forge a weapon from a star as they prepare to confront the Titan Oriskis looming ahead. After being resurrected by Invictus in final space, the Lord Commander gains Titan-like powers and forms an alliance to find Mooncake. The group is abducted onto the Lord Commander's ship, with Gary and Quinn on their way to rescue Mooncake, while Ballo and Mooncake head to confront Oreskes in his fortress. On the ship, they discover that Biscuit has secretly followed them. Throughout these events, flashbacks reveal how the Lord Commander saved Avocado's life and manipulated him into betraying his own people, even killing his own king and queen. Meanwhile, Ballo eventually defeats Oreskes in a fierce battle, and Gary and Quinn arrive in time to rescue their friends. Little Kato, despite learning of his father's past crimes, still believes in his goodness. In a surprising revelation, it's unveiled that Little Kato is the biological child of the king and queen, whom Avocado adopted after recognizing the extent of his actions. As Kevin works on potentially fixing the portals, Quinn's condition worsens due to exposure to final space, and Hugh discovers that she only has 36 hours to live. She urges him to keep this information a secret. Meanwhile, Tribor and Quatronostro stumble upon an underground civilization, while Cheryl sends a distress signal prompting Gary, Quinn, and Cheryl to gear up and head to the rescue. In the underground world, Tribor leads to a resistance against oppressive rulers, earning the loyalty of the oppressed locals. Above ground, Ash faces Lord Commander's manipulation attempts, but Gary arrives in time to save her. The rescue mission goes awry as Gary faces near death, only to discover a built-in laser gun in his robot hand, which he uses to defeat Lord Commander again. However, Lord Commander begins regenerating and the group fails to free Fox, who is sacrificed to Invictus. Devastated by Fox's loss, Ash watches Lord Commander's ship following them, signaling more challenges ahead. The ship comes under heavy fire, leading the gang to attempt a blind lightfold jump, which unexpectedly leads them to a black hole, a gateway to Invictus. As they approach, they feel the increasing gravitational pull, while Quinn begins to experience mysterious memories about her sister Avery. To counter the sucking black hole, Biscuit comes up with a plan to super recharge the lightfold engine. Quinn reveals that her sister was ambushed and lost during a mission, and she starts hallucinating her sister outside the ship. In a desperate attempt to protect her, Quinn exits the ship into the dangerous black hole. As the situation becomes critical, Ash somehow taps into her powers and saves Quinn just in time. However, Ash's actions attract Invictus's attention, and she decides to confront the powerful entity by entering the black hole. With no other choice, the crew reluctantly leaves Ash behind, and the episode concludes with everyone learning about Quinn's deteriorating condition, and Gary embraces her, probably for the last time. Following Quinn's exposure to Final Space's poisoning, Gary learns that there is no cure for this condition. Meanwhile, Tribor and Quattro Nostro launch a war against oppressive forces and discover that Tribor is a legendary figure among their species. Hugh contacts Kevin to learn how he survived the poisoning and discovers that the rare element selenium can absorb its effects. Hugh decides to create a selenium implant for Quinn, resembling the one Nightfall used to wear. It's all coming back full circle now. However, acquiring selenium proves challenging as it's located on a fast-moving frigid asteroid. As Ash is drawn into the black hole, Invictus guides her to his imprisonment location, claiming to protect her from Gary. He shows her a vision of Gary killing Fox, which she refuses to accept. The rest of the crew lands on a dangerous comet to extract selenium but becomes trapped underground. Tribor and Quattro Nostro visit the Temple of Krask, where they receive a prophecy about Tribor's role in freeing people from Final Space. The trapped group manages to escape the asteroid, delivering the selenium to Hugh. To perform the procedure, Quinn needs to be conscious. Gary fuses his pain receptors with hers to take on her pain, increasing her chances of survival. The procedure is successful, saving Quinn's life, and Invictus heals Ash's second eye, granting her immense Titan-like abilities. Invictus presents Ash with two choices, one that destroys everything in the universe, and another that continues the endless loop experienced by Gary and the crew. In the end, Ash returns to the ship with only 3 days to make her final choice. Upon Ash's return, the crew is taken aback by her transformation, and Avocado is suspicious of her sudden reappearance. Their reunion is awkwardly interrupted when they receive news of Balo's deteriorating condition, and the ship is teleported to Class 9 Nebula, where they discover Balo has become hostile due to his damaged mind. To cure him, they venture into Balo's mind space, where they encounter multiple insane versions of Balo. Ash mysteriously disappears, teleported by Balo's last remnant of sanity, leading her to the Chamber of Doubt. She encounters Fox, who asks Ash to join Invictus, and Ash agrees, unaware that she's being deceived. The group eventually reaches the Chamber of Doubt, where Gary dives in to save Ash, but Invictus manipulates events to make it seem like Gary kills Fox. After that, Invictus disappears, as he's already done the damage. Despite Balo's return to sanity, Ash is left enraged, believing Gary killed her brother. The episode concludes with her embracing Fox's lifeless body. The crew arranges a simulated funeral for Fox, but Ash remains dissatisfied and decides to leave the ship. Kevin informs Gary that the portal to Earth is almost complete, urging them to hurry. As the crew informs Tribor of their situation, Ash encounters a sentient blue entity who shares her inclination for destruction. She begins destroying planets to vent her frustration, while the crew bids farewell to Fox and releases his body into space. Amidst the chaos, Ash forms a bond with Evra, the blue entity, providing her with much-needed companionship. Avocado tries to console Gary, leading to a brawl when Avocado confesses to killing Little Cato's parents and adopting him in an attempt to make amends for his actions. In the midst of an emotionally charged confrontation, they fight, while Ash and Evra's connection deepens in the background. Mooncake eventually finds Ash, who has found solace, and she decides to return to the ship. Meanwhile, Gary and Avocado share a heartfelt moment in which Gary encourages Avocado to reveal the truth to Little Cato. They both resolve to make amends for their past mistakes. Gary and Ash reconcile in an emotionally poignant moment as the crew sets a course for Earth, hoping to leave Final Space behind. The crew lands on Earth, desperate to find a solution as the planet faces imminent destruction due to its destabilizing core. Kevin informs them that the portal they've created needs to be connected to something on the other side, requiring contact with a being outside of Final Space. Reluctantly, Ash contacts Clarence, revealing the tragic death of Fox and pleading with him to activate the portal on the other end. Clarence abandons his newfound power and allies with his friend Fraskenauer to confront numerous adversaries he has made throughout the series. As he attempts to connect the portal, he is shot multiple times by Todd, leading to a poignant moment of understanding before Clarence activates the bridge but passes away in the process. Back in Final Space, the crew readies themselves to use the bridge. However, Quinn discovers that Kevin designed the KVNs as weapons to kill Titans. Recognizing the gravity of their situation, Quinn decides to stay behind and confront the Titans head-on, with the crew standing united in her decision to save the universe. As the crew confronts Lord Commander on Earth, he reveals his true plan, to drill into the planet's core to harness an immense power source. Avocado decides to pursue him underground, and despite his insistence on going alone, Little Cato, Biscuit, and KVN secretly join him. Biscuit brings a bomb capable of destroying Lord Commander's ship, which Avocado plans to use, but Hugh warns them of a Titan incubating at Earth's core. Meanwhile, the KVN Link, the Titan-killing weapon designed by Kevin, faces technical difficulties due to magnetic field shifts. The crew discovers that the last relay is in Wisconsin, and Ballo arrives to help Gary and Quinn reach it. They encounter numerous Gary clones, with Ballo holding them off while Quinn reactivates the link. However, more Gary clones overwhelm Kevin and Ash, leading Kevin to close the entrance hatch, sacrificing himself to activate the KVN link. Avocado successfully plants the bomb on Lord Commander's ship, but the situation becomes dire as Earth faces imminent destruction. Just before the last link is connected, Lord Commanders emerge from the planet's core as a Titan, obliterating their last hope from within, and Earth explodes into fragments. Lord Commander immediately kills Ballo, and the rest of the crew is forced to flee as their last guardian has fallen before their eyes. As he follows, Lord is faced with Invictus and his army of Titans for not bringing Moonkid. Meanwhile, the crew works to repair their damaged ship after the KVN link's failure. They encounter Gary clones that attack the ship and cut off its power, leading to Hugh's shutdown. As the team splits into groups to fix the ship, tensions escalate between Quinn and Avocado, with the latter blaming her for her predicament. As they work to counteract the poisoning effects, Cheryl discovers Ash under Invictus's control and gets injured during her rescue attempt. Ash eventually breaks free from Invictus's influence, and the group eliminates the remaining Gary clones except for one. This last Gary clone reveals that he sacrificed himself to close the breach in his timeline, like other Garys, which led them to end up in Final Space. The clone shares a poignant moment with Quinn, and the crew hopes to break the loop. However, they discover that for every Gary that closed the breach, an Earth was teleported to Final Space, each with a Titan incubating at its core. The episode concludes with the group searching for the bridge to escape Final Space, while Lord Commander single-handedly eliminates all the Titans. The group reaches the portal in space, but it's currently powered off, so Biscuit steps up with a plan to get it running again. As they work on the portal, Gary realizes that it's identical to the satellites he repaired during his 5-year sentence on Galaxy 1, though he didn't know their true purpose at the time. While the portal charges, Gary and Quinn grow closer, and Little Cato, following Cheryl's advice, decides to ask Avocado about his mother. Avocado reveals that her name was Apricot, and she died during childbirth, leading to an emotional moment while Cato hugs his father and appreciates his strength. However, when the portal's energy crosses the 100% threshold, it overcharges, causing the thermogenic power core to explode, rendering the portal useless. Avocado then confesses to Gary that he had lied to Little Cato about his mother. Ash overhears this conversation and confronts Avocado with anger, triggering her uncontrollable rage once more. She threatens to take Little Cato away and hurls Avocado and Gary into space. The crew inside the ship is too late to stop this, and Ash reveals the truth about Little Cato, who reluctantly leaves with her. The episode concludes with the remaining crew determined to rescue Little Cato from Ash's grasp. In the final episode, Gary and Avocado set out on a rescue mission using the new ship Dragonhawk 5, designed by Biscuit. Gary bids farewell to Quinn and entrusts Mooncake to help her get the bridge back online, unsure if they will return alive. Accompanied by Hugh on their new ship, the two heroes embark on their mission while Cheryl gives Nightfall's helmet to Quinn, hinting at the path she is about to take. A pre-recorded message from Nightfall plays from the helmet, revealing the existence of a power core in its eye that can reactivate the portal. Quinn accepts her role as the new Nightfall, realizing that all their choices, sacrifices, and events have led her to this pivotal moment. Meanwhile, Ash takes Little Cato to Invictus's prison, where he remains conflicted and yearns to reunite with his family. Gary and Avocado enter the prison, and Avocado confesses to the murders he committed. Kato questions why Avocado spared his life, and Avocado explains that he wanted to give him a purpose and raise him as his own. Back on the ship, Biscuit deploys a robo-suit for Hugh to aid in their battle against Ash. As Invictus swarms the area with Gary clones, Lord Commander arrives and annihilates them all. On Galaxy 2, the crew manages to restart the portal but requires someone to activate it from the other side. In Invictus's prison, Lord Commander and Ash engage in a fierce battle while the rest of the group rescues Kato. Tribor, who had left for the other side earlier, activates the link, but Ash follows them and attempts to prevent their ship from entering. In a moment of selflessness, Mooncake intervenes and allows the group to leave. However, Ash absorbs Mooncake's powers and uses them to fully release Invictus. Lord Commander, imprisoned in ice, is hurled away and the ship lands on the other side, leaving Mooncake behind and possibly destroying the bridge in final space. However, as the group processes the events, Invictus opens up a tear in space and enters the other side, indicating that the death of the universe is imminent. Throughout various timelines, Gary managed to close the breach successfully by sacrificing himself, but the unexpected release of Invictus is a twist that none of those timelines saw coming. As for how Gary plans to confront this new and unprecedented threat, well, that's a mystery left hanging in the balance, and sadly, with the show's cancellation, we may never get the answers we crave, unless someone steps in to continue the story from here. So for now, this is where Final Space ends. Nonetheless, it was a great journey. But what do you think? Will this show ever continue, and if it does, what will happen? Let's take our guesses down in the comments, and as for everything else, if you enjoyed the video, drop us a like and subscribe to our channel for more tunes like this recapped on your feed. With that said, thanks for watching. Peace.